For you, the listeners of My JavaScript Story, Loot Crate is offering an opportunity to save 10% on any new subscription at lootcrate.com. Just enter the promo code BRIDGE10 for 10% savings. Loot Crate is one of my favorite things. Every month I get a box in the mail, costs less than $20, and it comes with all kinds of goodies. I have stuff from, just looking at my shelf, Batman, Spider-Man, Ninja Turtles, Back to the Future, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, and much, much more. So if you're a geek, a gamer, anything like that, and you want cool stuff to put around your office, cool t-shirts, comic books, etc., then definitely check out Loot Crate. To save 10% on your new subscription, go to lootcrate.com/Ruby. Again, that's lootcrate.com/Ruby to save 10% on any new subscription. Enter the promo code BRIDGE10 for 10% savings. Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of My JavaScript Story. This week we're talking to Scott Wyatt. Scott, do you want to say hi?
Hi.
Now, we had you on episode 282. That was back in October of 2017. We talked about Trails.js.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just another interesting way of writing JavaScript apps. And we thought, hey, it'd be great to get you on and talk about where you came from and who you are and what you do and all that great stuff.
Yeah, that sounds great.
So before we do that, though, you want to give a brief introduction as far as who you are and what you do, where you work, and that kind of thing, and then we'll move over and start asking you questions about your past.
Yeah, sure thing. So I'm a VC partner and the CTO at Cali Style Technologies, a real small boutique firm. But what that allows me to do is work with different startups, particularly in the tech fields or people in need of the tech field. Kind of my best known stories is I was the CTO of the Dollar Beard Club, which is an interesting startup that went from zero to hero really, really quickly. We built the entire application in like 14 days, and the next morning we had 50,000 users. It was just absolutely crazy.
Wow.
Also was involved in the Cool Box, which was appeared on Shark Tank, and that kind of broke me into the whole VC space. So now we help find and groom small startups, and we're trying to make it big in this big Silicon Valley world, so to speak. But I actually live in Indianapolis, Indiana. I was born and raised here, but I traveled the world. I went to school in New Zealand. I spent time in Southeast Asia, and I lived in California for years and years. So really been all over the place, but this has always been my Indiana home, so to speak.
Wow. I'm a little curious before we dive into, some of the more common interview questions that I ask. So do you find you're disconnected a lot from things being in Indiana, or does it really not matter anymore because everybody can just hop on a video call and talk?
Yeah, I got really used to working remotely just by traveling so much. So, this is my preferred mode of transportation. I can give this interview in my underwear. Not that I'm doing that, but
right.
But in Indianapolis, so we actually have Salesforce has a headquarters here now. There's all kinds of data storage. So there's a lot of tech talents coming into the area. I know we're on the bid for a new Amazon headquarters as well. So there'll be a lot of things coming in. I know Indiana is kind of considered a flyover state or something like that. Right. But it's actually we're considered the crossroads of America. So we get a lot of people coming in and out. As far as tech's concerned, being separated from California, I feel like that probably has its pros and cons as well. It's a lot harder for me to get to conferences and, have FaceTime with the community. But the good news is Hoosiers are super welcoming, and the meetups we have around this area are absolutely incredible. You can find one on about any topic, which is always fun.
Right. Yeah, I found that, so I live in Utah, which is another one. I don't know if it's considered a flyover state, but it's not a place that people typically go to, especially for tech.
Oh, yeah.
We're kind of in the same situation, right, where we are somewhat of a hub. Salt Lake City is anyway, in the West. And in fact, they call us the Crossroads of the West. So not Crossroads of America, but kind of the same idea. And, there's a huge tech community here. And so, yeah, we're starting to see companies come in and build things here. And, there are offices for HP and Disney and, that all do tech that are here along what we call the Wasatch Front. Facebook just built a data center, or just announced a data center out in Eagle Mountain, which is on the Wasatch Front. And so, we're seeing a lot of that same kind of thing. And I think for the most part, the communities out there are going to start to, or the companies out there are going to start spreading that way, right? Oh, here's a community where we can spread to, where we don't have to fight so hard to get tech people in like they have to do out in Silicon Valley or, other parts of California. It's the same in Seattle. I was up in Seattle last year, And yeah, I mean, Amazon's snapping up everybody. And so it's really competitive to find developers. And so, yeah, a lot of these companies are looking at other areas. So it makes sense. And I think we're going to see more of that.
Yeah, like that's actually a really great point too. And like living in an area, like you said, like in Utah, where you have like tech talent that's there from those offices, or Seattle, or with us in Indianapolis with Salesforce and Amazon possibly coming in.
Yep.
Like you get a lot of those, like, developers who are really talented that, they're getting paid an insane amount of money. But a lot of times, like those companies, they treat their staff really well, but people are always looking for opportunity. They know, like, especially in my line of work, which is startups, they know they can, like, there's a lot more risk, but a lot more reward if they go venture out on their own, like start that new idea that they have. And I think this is a great place to find a disenfranchised developer and like really start, like, push them forward. I really see that, like, Detroit would be a really good place to do that as well, especially with the cheap cost of living that these areas afford.
Yep.
It's a really fun area to be in.
Yeah, makes sense. And I completely agree. Anyway, let's talk about you.
Sorry.
No, it's all good. We just hit on a topic that I think we're both somewhat passionate about. So let's jump in and talk about you. How did you get into programming?
Right. So my dad actually was a computer programmer, really intelligent. He works on, he got to work on the stuff that we only hear about in like legacy today, and just hearing the stories of his like first intros into programming. And his father actually got him into programming as well. So my late grandfather, and he was a school teacher who just loved Apple computers and just got started. And so that was really my first exposure, was writing a snake game and like on MS-DOS. And
oh wow,
yeah. So like I started really young. I actually have like a really strong arts background. Like I really wanted to be an artist and a graphic designer and all that fun stuff. But then one thing led to another, and that just like led me down the road of programming, and I just fell in love and been in love ever since. So
I definitely identify with that. My interest in tech came from my grandpa.
Cool.
He was an engineer. He did some work on the space shuttle.
No way. That's awesome.
Yeah. He was a chemical engineer, so a little bit different, but kind of the same idea. And yeah, so it's that kind of thing where it's, you see it, you get exposed to it, you have some opportunity to work on it. I did in junior high, so you just kind of work your way into it. And yeah, it's just amazing how, if you're interested in it, how approachable it is in a lot of ways. How did you get from there to being a JavaScript guy? Yeah,
this is actually kind of a funny one. So I had a paper out since I was like 10 years old. And like, so I was always like trying to like save my money, and bought my very first computer. And it was a compact Pisario. It was like really like, I think wasn't even a Pentium 2. I think it was like a Pentium 1. Nice. Yeah. And so this was around the time that like Macromedia Flash had just started coming out. And of course, like its language at the time was, I think, oh, wow, I just had this, not TypeScript, ActionScript. Yeah. And so I started off in ActionScript 1.0. That syntax is actually really similar like to JavaScript too. And I really wanted to make these like Flash games and all that fun stuff. And when that whole boom was really happening on the web, and I saw like YouTube coming out, and I was like, yeah, I want to be able to build that. And that's kind of a natural like step into writing JavaScript. It's like you're trying to build things for the web. And so like, cool, I built this Flash game. Now how do I get it on the web? And so that kind of led me down the path of JavaScript. And so I really started with like pretty much how everybody starts with JavaScript is vanilla and then jQuery, and kind of started going from there. Yep.
Yeah, it's interesting. First of all, you mentioned the ActionScript's a lot like JavaScript. They're both based on the ECMAScript standard, which is, so they are related languages. Yeah, it's just interesting too. You talk about the arts, and it's funny because a lot of people think that programming is this deeply technical, blah blah blah, technical mathematical field. And I've talked to so many people that have some artistic bent. They're musicians, they're designers, they're whatever it is. And yeah, I get people too, and they come in and they're like, "There's no way I could do what you do." And I just look at them and say, "Look, we have all kinds of people here. And so there's no reason why you couldn't do it, right?" And we need all those thought processes. So
yeah, like even today in like my day-to-day like coding, sometimes I like almost shy away from the front end because it can be so difficult to get like something really complex happening, which is so weird because that's how much like most artists get into coding, is through something super visual. And that's like the hardest part. Like writing subroutines and all that fun stuff is a lot of fun, and it's rather easy. But like, getting that blue blob to transform into something else, or like, especially what people are doing now with like 3D graphics on the web and stuff, is like really complicated things. And these artists are figuring it out. And it's like, they've already got they look at somebody like me who's been coding for like 15 years now, and they're like, well, I can never do what you do. I'm like, you're actually doing the hardest part already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's funny because, you see them building in these CSS transforms and crap, right? And it's like that's programming.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. Interesting. So you get into JavaScript. What was it that got you into JavaScript? Was it front end? Was it back end? Was it jQuery? Was it something else?
Yeah, like I'm actually really like fortunate to like have somebody I know that pretty well. His name's Mike Hostetler, and he was on the jQuery team. He's a really amazing guy, super nice if you ever get to meet him in person. Yeah, so like I asked him all his old stories about like JavaScript and like the origins of like his origin story with JavaScript and stuff like that, and that gave me a lot of confidence to move more into back-end JavaScript programming. So like Node.js, like I was doing PHP mostly for server-side stuff before, and like there was just so much more there to JavaScript. I just didn't know it was there, and I hadn't really cared to know that was there. And now, like, I live, breathe, and die JavaScript, which is pretty funny. I never thought it'd be as powerful as something like PHP or like C, even, but like JavaScript's got its place. It's a super prolific language, and I don't see that's definitely changing in the upcoming years, but it's always going to be this really neat, dynamically typed language that I think appeals to designers and to like developer engineers alike in a way that most languages just don't do. Maybe Python might do that, but nothing like JavaScript.
Yeah, you mentioned Mike Hostetler. We've had him on. We did a My JavaScript Story episode 31.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And, he's also come on and talked about remote work. I thought we had him on for something else, but I guess we didn't. That was quite a while ago. We'll have to get him back on the show.
Yeah. Oh, same. I actually, now that we're talking about him, I kind of want to call him.
Yeah. So anyway, so how did you get into doing something like Trails.js?
Yes. Like when I started using Node, like I absolutely loved it. I mean, it was quick. It was really fast. It was easy to get started with. There was this little tiny Express server that you could just sit and start taking ports. So that led me down the way to like finding a framework like Sails.js, and I worked with Sails, wrote quite a few libraries for Sails actually, and they got pretty popular. And I actually met Travis Webb through that project, and he turned me on to Trails, and so eventually I became a core maintainer. And now we're taking Trails to the next level, and that's with a library or a framework called Fabrics, and this is the TypeScript version of essentially Trails. And we're adding a lot of new syntactical sugar, and we're trying to make a very strongly typed Node.js framework. Very
cool. Yeah, and I love TypeScript.
Yeah, I mean, I love the philosophy of fail fast. Yeah. And TypeScript is going to tell you when you're wrong really, really quickly, and that can save you so much heartache.
Yeah. So what are the things that you've done in JavaScript that you're most proud of? It sounds like you're really happy about your work in Trails. Are there parts of that you're really excited about that you've done, or other things that you've done that you want to talk about?
Yeah, actually. So one of the things that I love about like Trails and Fabrics by proxy, I guess, is that there are these like super tiny little servers. And like what that has really allowed me to get my head around is this idea of like partitioned apps. Like that makes me so excited. And so building libraries on top of these platforms to like create partitioned apps and distributed apps is probably what I'm most proud of right now. That actually, like, I'll probably talk about this later in our picks section, but you see what's happening right now in like Bangladesh, where they're like literally stripping the youth of their like mobile internet. And I know this is kind of political, and if you want to steer away from that, we can. But
no, fine.
Like if you just having the internet like chipped it out of its current paradigm, like back to Tim Berners-Lee was going for, which is a more just like he's trying to go even less federated. So like get to the distributed level. And if we had distributed applications and a government or political party try to shut off the internet to stop a youth rally, that just wouldn't be possible. So I think that like distributed apps and by proxy JavaScript and Trails and stuff like that, like has this incredible political outcome as well, which I think that I'm not a political activist necessarily, but that has huge ramifications for them. I think that that's an important thing to like bring to society, and any way I can contribute to, freedom of information, like who can't be proud of that? So.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. My views on the internet are basically, I mean, the more that we can enable people to, achieve whatever it is that they want to achieve, the better. And yeah, I really like the idea of things like the distributed or federated internet and things like that, where you just, it just opens things up so that people can be who they are.
Yeah, exactly. And I know that comes with the weird and the bad, but like obviously, like it comes with a lot of good too. I mean, it's hard to like quantify or find the morality of freedom.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the questions that humankind will struggle with till like our dying day, I suppose. But I'm going to err on the side of good, and I think, I definitely agree with what you just said.
Yep. So, what are you working on now?
Yeah, the biggest thing I'm working on right now is fabrics. So this is the TypeScript rendition of Trails. We are deviating from the original like platform quite a bit, mostly to make it strongly typed. That's going to take us into WASM or WebAssembly, and that's where we really see a huge future with applications. That goes straight into my business side of things too. Mm-hmm. Is we want to bring applications online that can get past the gatekeeping that the Apple iOS Apple Store and the Google Play Store have like set up.
Right.
We want to see like even more powerful progressive web applications, and we think being first to market on a lot of this stuff will lead to a lot of success on the road.
Right. Makes sense to me.
Well, hopefully it does. I mean, like, I'm betting quite a bit on this. So,
well, and it's funny too because you're talking about some of these ideas as opposed to the technology, and what's interesting about that is that a lot of times what happens is you get kind of the first blush implementation of the idea, and then people find ways to make it really powerful or really interesting. Mm-hmm. And so, you have, for example, blockchain, cryptocurrency, right? Mm-hmm. And Bitcoin's still making a splash. But the flip side of that is now you see things like, okay, well, go implement this smart contract on Ethereum, or you've got, different other ideas around the blockchain that have nothing to do with cryptocurrency, where it's, hey, look, we're just going to have like a completely federated database, or, all kinds of things. And so I love the idea that, we're going to put this idea out there. We're going to create something out of this idea, and then, and change the world that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think it's important to like kind of stay theoretical. A lot of times, like to stay keeping up with the theoretical concepts. Like, obviously, like blockchain's here to stay. And like, this is a total side note. This is a really funny quote that I heard, that if you can copy and replace the word blockchain with database, you're doing it wrong. And but like that's so true. Like the word blockchain has been blown out of proportion, but like now what we're seeing is like these projects that are based on a lot of those concepts that blockchain solve, like double spend problem, open ledgers, like you said, creating essentially an open to the world database system. This is actually a really cool place that JavaScript actually has an influence as well. Like right now, as I'm talking on my screen, is just like these Gitter chat badges keep on coming through from Gun.js, which is a really, really cool distributed graph database. And the stuff they're doing on top of that too is like they're creating their own cryptocurrency to run these peer-to-peer nodes that can run in the browser essentially. Mm-hmm. So I mean, like, there's so much happening out there, and it's like always keeping up with what's kind of coming, what people are playing with, what sounds really, really interesting, because that'll be the companies that are founded 2-3 years from now. And so that's a huge part of it. I'm like rambling now.
No, I'm totally with you though.
Yeah.
And incidentally, if you're interested in GunDB, we have had Mark Nadal on the show.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, Mark's awesome.
Yeah, he used to live out here. So
yep.
I actually met him when he was talking about some of the ideas behind GunDB, and I'll admit I thought he was nuts. But
I think a lot of people did. I mean, but it's really neat to see what he's done with this.
Yeah, but I mean, he's really turned it into something that's, powerful and interesting. So
yeah, I love how he sold the project as like, well, he didn't know what he was really selling, and then his investor said, "Oh, can it be used for games?" And like, so he's like started kind of crafting that concept out, but now look at it, like, this is a cutting edge, bleeding edge technology. Like, it can be used for games, but like, look what else it can do.
Yeah,
and I think that's the cool thing is like, even if you build something small or like whatever, you never know what it'll turn into.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, cool. Well, if people want to find you online, where do they go?
Awesome. So like I'm definitely on the star hunt right now on GitHub. You can find me at Scott-Wyatt on Git. You can also find me on Twitter, but I'm not super active. I won't lie. That's Scott B. Wyatt on Twitter. Definitely the best way to get a hold of me is GitHub. I'm always on there. I'm trying to maintain my shiny green wall and all that fun stuff. So,
Cool. And do you have some picks for us?
Do you run your own freelance business? Or maybe you're thinking about picking up some business on the side? Well, then you need FreshBooks. FreshBooks is the quickest and easiest way to get invoices out to your clients. It's easy to use. It works anywhere, available from any device on the desktop, iPhone, iPad, Android, and all of your data is backed up and secure. And it makes it really easy to get organized and get paid. You'll be tracking time, logging expenses, and invoicing your clients in no time. You can also save time billing, freeing up several days per month to focus on the work that you love, and you get paid faster. FreshBooks customers are paid on average 5 days faster because there's a link on the invoice that says pay me now. And it's a great way to grow your business. Plus, FreshBooks is offering a 30-day trial. That's right, 30-day trial if you try them out. So go to gofreshbooks.com/devchat and enter devchat in the How Did You Hear About Us section. Once again, for a 30-day trial, go to gofreshbooks.com/devchat and enter devchat in the How Did You Hear About Us section.
Yeah, actually, so my pick was going to be Gun.js. So we already covered it. Yeah, I definitely if you haven't checked out Gun, definitely do it. I jump in there every once in a while trying to get onto these ideas around cryptocurrencies and Merkle trees and hashes and blah blah blah, all the fun words, and definitely interested in that space. And a lot of people feel like it would be really complicated to get inside. So I'll kind of go into my second pick then too, which is Vertcoin or BTC. If you want to learn about cryptocurrencies on your home computer, you can download that, start learn about mining pools. It's super easy. You won't make any money, I don't think, but it's a great way to get into the space and see what people are talking about and see how you, as a developer, you can kind of play on that.
Very cool. I've got a couple of picks myself. First one is I'm just going to mention again. So I mentioned it last week on this show, which that episode we recorded last week, but it'll come out tomorrow as we record this, or Wednesday. But anyway, I'm putting together an ebook and video course on how to find a job. A lot of folks have been asking me about this. They're typically either bootcamp grads, they're new developers, or they're people that live in a remote area and have trouble figuring out how to do that kind of a job search. So I'm putting all of that stuff into an ebook and a video course. So if you're interested in that, go check it out. Just go to devchat.tv/shop, and you should be able to find those there. They're the only products in the store currently. And you'll get the stuff basically as I release it. So this week, I'm going to be releasing a probably 2 or 3 chapters and, a handful of videos that basically walk you through how to get your job search started, how to do your resume, things like that. And then basically, there are 3 things that I think every developer can do to jumpstart their job search. So that's kind of how that's all put together. But yeah, so I'm getting that done. And then I've also been playing this game on my phone, and I'm kind of addicted to it, and it kind of sucks how addicted to it I am, but it's called Golf Clash. And I love just getting out and golfing, so I'll pick that as well. But anyway, this, you just play it on your phone against other people, and anyway, it's a colossal waste of time, but I enjoy it. But yeah, the last one is I will pick something around golf. So I was talking to my wife earlier this morning and just mentioned, you know what, I've been getting stressed out. Life's been kind of hard lately. And for those of you who aren't following all of the drama that goes on in my life, I'll just kind of summarize. My dad passed away in April, and that kind of threw me for a loop for a few months. And I'm still not sure I'm completely through, all of the emotional stuff and the grieving process there. But that kind of took me down a couple pegs. And then my mom's needed my help with a bunch of stuff because they had a rent-to-own deal on the house that I basically lived in through junior high and high school. And that fell through. So she got the house back, and the people left it in terrible shape. So I've been over there helping her out with that. And then I've got about 8 other things that are just, irons in the fire, including the, the book and the course. And so I've been super stressed out. So I just looked at my wife and I said, I think I'm going to arrange things so that I can take Friday afternoons off and either go golfing or go hit a bucket of balls or go to a movie or just something, right? And so I guess I'm just going to pick, planning in some sanity time, for lack of a better term, and going and doing something that's completely outside of what you normally do, right? So some people, they get a break from video games. For me, it almost feels like work because I'm sitting in the same chair at the same computer doing the same things, right? Because I work from home, I run my own company. So, I just use the same machine for all of that stuff. And so it is kind of an unwind. And even sometimes playing on like the Nintendo Switch isn't quite enough. But anyway, and I've been enjoying that, by the way. But anyway, so my pick is mostly just getting that leisure time, right? Bought myself some new golf clubs. My father-in-law went and helped me break those in on Friday. So we went out to the golf course and had a terrible round of golf. But, it's that kind of thing, right? So just take a minute to breathe. It's just become so much more important for me with all of the other stuff going on. So, yeah.
And I don't mean to hijack here, but
Go ahead.
You're so right about that. And something that all developers will face is high stress and burnout and all that fun stuff. And of course, when you compound that with grief, that's a monster.
Yeah.
And I was definitely in that space for quite some time myself. And for me, I found rock climbing, and it's totally changed my way. So now I take 6 hours a week over the course of the week, and I rock climb, and it's just a great way to stop through the week. And it's great because you can still keep your mind active. You're still problem solving. You're getting great exercise. If you haven't tried it, definitely do. I guess I'm doing pick number 3.
There you go. I have been rock climbing since I was in high school. But yeah. I mean, anything like that. And, the other thing is life isn't always going to go how you planned it. So having some outlet like that is really helpful. All right. Well, thank you for coming, Scott.
Thanks for having me. This is so fun, and I hope I get to do a JS Jabber sometime soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Shoot us over some ideas. In fact, I should just shout that out as well. So one of the things that I've been doing with JavaScript Jabber lately, what we've been doing is we kind of go and search through Medium and Reddit and newsletters like JavaScript Weekly and things like that. Maybe go look around on Twitter and see if people are talking about something. And then typically we'll invite people who have written the blog post or whatever that started the conversation onto the show. And I think people are interested in that. But I've talked to a bunch of people, and I've decided that I'm going to refocus for a little while anyway on just sort of the basics. So we're going to talk about, some of the things that you need to know to just kind of be functional out there in JavaScript. And, we'll get into some advanced-ish topics, right? So on my list right now, just to run through a few of them, are things like Webpack, TC39, ES6 Plus. I don't know what to call that. ES Current, ES Next. But ESLint, TypeScript, Chrome DevTools, Node, V8, Jest, testing. Anyway, so if you have a recommendation of a topic along those lines, so if it's a tool that you feel like everybody should at least be aware of and aware of how it works, or some framework or library that everybody uses like Lodash, or if you want to know more about a particular aspect of JavaScript, like the history of JavaScript, or how the language evolves or things like that, go ahead and suggest those. If you go to javascriptjabber.com or jsjabber.com, they both go to the same place. But then just hop on and suggest a topic. Then we'll put those in our list, and we'll start reaching out to people and start trying to get those lined up. I feel like talking about kind of news-ish or here's how you do this interesting thing in JavaScript is helpful, but I also feel like the context is important for us to be able to cover a lot of these tools and techniques and ideas so that we can say, okay, well, we're all on the same page about these things and we're going to move forward. So anyway, feel free to you can also just email me, Chuck at devchat.tv, and we'll make sure that we get those on the list. But yeah, I'm looking for ideas. And if you have guests that you think would be good for those ideas, let me know about those as well. I have a fairly large network within the JavaScript community, so I should be able to find those people and at least see if they're interested in coming on. So anyway, we'll wrap this up. Thanks for coming, Scott.
Thanks for having me.
All right. We will talk to you all next week.
Bandwidth for this segment is provided by CacheFly, the world's fastest CDN. Deliver your content fast with CashFly. Visit CACHEFLY.com to learn more.